I'm feeling really sick. I'm hearing a voice.
Eddie.
Bring me back my creature.
Why would we do that?
We can do whatever we want.
You should be extremely afraid.
What are you?
We are Venom.
I'm Eddie Brock. I'm a reporter. I always seem to find myself questioning something the government may not be looking at. I found something really bad. And I have been...
Eddie.
Who said that? Taken.
Look around at the world. What do you see? A planet on the brink of collapse. Human beings are disposable. But man and symbiote combined. This is a new race, a new species. A higher life form.
What do you want from me?
You'll find out.
I'm so sorry. We cannot just hurt people.
Look into my eyes, Eddie. The way I see it. We can do whatever we want. Do we have a deal? Eyes, lungs, pancreas. So many snacks, so little time.
That power, it's not completely awful.
You have no idea how much you're scaring me right now.
Eddie, cooperate. And you just might survive.
Guys, you do not want to do this, trust me.
Giant leaps will always come at a cost.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. We got a bunch of new Venom to break down and some really cool Thor Easter eggs. So now Venom is connected to Thor in a really cool mythological way because they're doing some really crazy cosmic stuff with the Venom title right now. So I'll explain what's going on with that. There's new giveaway stuff I'll talk about at the end of the video. Be sure to subscribe to get everything because it's only going to get crazier. So you see a whole bunch more of Carlton Drake versus Eddie Brock after Eddie gets the symbiote. You see a couple scenes where he tries to call his girlfriend, Michelle Williams' character, I don't feel so good. Then it starts to manifest, and you see Carlton Drake on the phone with him, bring me back my creature. So he's stolen one of the symbiotes. Obviously, we know that Riot is going to be one of the other symbiotes from the comics. They haven't been very clear if they're doing all 5 of the symbiotes from the Lethal Protector storyline, or if they'll just be Easter eggs for all 5, and it's really just the Venom and the Riot symbiotes. Maybe a third one if you want to count Carnage, but he's probably more of a post-credits tag, so technically I don't count him amongst these symbiotes. And they haven't confirmed whether or not he's going to be the offspring of Venom like the comics, or if it's going to be some different origin, like he'll be a completely separate entity. I know a lot of you do want Toxin at some point. I'm sure if they do Carnage in the second film, like it sounds like they're teasing, then they can totally get to Toxin if they want to in a third film, but it all just depends on how this first Venom film does. If it does well, then of course anything is possible. There's a much longer scene with Donna Diego when she gets the symbiote, the Riot symbiote. So even though she's Scream in the comics, I believe that in this scene here, she's bonded to the Riot symbiote. Then it leaves her and joins Carlton Drake. That's when they become like full-blown comic book Riot. That's why he looks so huge here. So it's Venom versus Riot and Eddie Brock versus Carlton Drake, both bonded to their symbiotes. But the really cool thing that I don't know if they're going to get to in this movie, probably not, maybe a future film, is the idea of the other powers the symbiote has. There's a brand new one they just debuted in the comics. The symbiote can now manifest wings because of some new abilities that it got when it was joined to the god of the symbiotes, whose name is Null. So the really cool Thor Easter egg connecting him to Venom now is the Tale of Grendel, which obviously this epic Anglo-Saxon poem. Of course, if you're going to do that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thor's character is the most appropriate one. Now what they're saying is that inside the Marvel Universe, the Grendel from the epic poem is actually the primordial symbiote, the very first symbiote created by the celestial god of the void. Remember during Thor the Dark World where Odin's explaining the history of the universe and he talks about the blackness of space and the void before creation and the Big Bang? How after the Big Bang, the Celestials and the other races rose up and cast them down, and how they sought to take that back by using the Reality Stone. So in this new story where we learn about Null, he's effectively the god of that time before creation. So he's still crazy powerful after the Big Bang. So when Eternity creates the Celestials and they start populating the universe with lesser races like the Eternals and everywhere else, the god of the void creates a symbiote from his shadow that he turns into the Necro Sword that was later wielded by Gore, the God Butcher, during that big Thor epic when he went around killing all the gods. So during this new story, Null gets really pissed off talking about Gore, about how he didn't understand the full powers of the Necro Sword. It's actually called the All Black. It's the primordial symbiote that then eventually bonds with someone else on planet Earth and becomes the Grendel of the Grendel poem that Thor then strikes down. So it's this big crossover with Thor's story through Gore the God Butcher, the Necro Sword, and the Grendel tale. The new mythology behind the Clintar now is that this god of the void, Null, uses the symbiotes as aspects of itself. Through their hosts, he can actually learn things about what's happening across the universe. He can reabsorb symbiotes, and what happens is that the more symbiotes that combine with each other, the more powerful they can be, the more abilities they unlock. So for a brief period, Venom's symbiote is reabsorbed back into this primordial Grendel horde. It's able to escape before Null can cut the bond with Eddie so that it returns to Eddie. When he rebinds with Eddie, they find that the symbiote was able to retain some of those extra powers that it gained when it was connected to Null's horde. So the whole thing now is that the symbiote is learning about abilities that it never knew it had, and it's also remembering that there's strength in numbers. So I know it sounds a little crazy, and they're not going to really get into this stuff in the movie, but it's cool mythology about how the symbiotes work, where they come from, why they were created in the first place, and is a cool way of connecting them to other big Marvel franchises like what's happening with Thor. Remember, Thor Ragnarok effectively turned Hela into their version of Gore the God Butcher, especially in the way that her powers work, like just manifesting weapons. But it's also really cool with this story to learn why the Necro Sword had the abilities that it did. At the time, it was a really cool story, but now it's just broadening it a little bit and deepening the mythology. One of the really easy things I think for them to pull off, though, is the idea that symbiotes can absorb other symbiotes or at least combine with them so that you do have multiple personalities within one person, like Eddie Brock wielding multiple symbiotes. When they do that, they gain all these crazy stacking bonuses to their powers. But the funny thing is in this recent story where they're doing this, Venom makes the joke that even though he's absorbed a piece of this primordial Grendel symbiote and they're crazy powerful now, he's still not as powerful as Thor. Let me know in the comments, though, what other comic book Venom abilities do you want to see the movies do? There's a new round of that Infinity War Blu-ray giveaway. Like I said, all you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a Marvel-related comment on the video. Congratulations to the winner from my last big video, Darky. Please email me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. Click here to learn all about what's happening with Thor 4 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and click here for brand new Game of Thrones. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.